Hi everyone, I'm Daniel, and I don't usually do dumb opinion videos on this channel, but hey, sometimes I just want to make a dumb opinion video. So why not? Let's talk about the worst investigators that you can bring into each campaign in Arkham Horror the card game. All done? The answer is Lola Hayes for every campaign. Thank you for watching. Please check out my other great Arkham Horror content on my channel. And okay, let me backtrack. What I actually mean by worst investigator isn't just the weakest investigators in general, so let's lay down some guidelines. So I mean that in a particular campaign, the investigator in question is worse than that investigator usually is. Not that the investigator is going to be totally ineffective. I don't want to punish Lola for being weak overall, so really this list is going to pick out two investigators who are going to struggle much more than they would in every other campaign. I'm judging based on the usefulness of the investigator ability, and to some extent their stat line for the campaign in question. As you'll see, some investigators barely get to use their ability in some campaigns, or can even be a hindrance with some encounter cards. But for the most part, there are some solutions to these challenges in the full card pool, and I'll briefly mention these. But yeah, you shouldn't think of these investigators as unplayable, but they can present an additional challenge if you're up for that. Another way to solve some of the shortcomings is with the rest of your group. Sometimes all you need is having someone else cancel key treachery, and it'll be smooth sailing ahead. Other times, just making sure someone else can deal with enemies or get clues in some situations is enough. And for sure, these challenges are magnified at lower player counts. I've already mentioned this, but there will be light mechanical spoilers regarding each campaign. I'll try not to call it anything by name, but if you want to experience everything without any foreknowledge, you might want to skip this video. And finally, these are just my opinions. I didn't meticulously research anything for this video, just wanted to have a little fun. Okay? Let's start with the Dunwich Legacy. If you played this one, you know that it hits investigators hard if they draw too many cards, and there's one scenario where you'll be forced to use your willpower. So I've picked Amanda Sharp and Winifred Habermuck. If you're Amanda, you're forced to draw an extra card every round, and her best strategies involve drawing even more cards, and using her ability can give you excellent stats, but it can be tough to bounce back and forth using intellect and willpower. For Winifred, the story is much the same. You don't really want to give up on your ability to commit cards and draw through your deck, and that one willpower can be real tough to overcome. I could have, or should have, chosen Patrice here, but I saved her for another campaign. Next, the Path to Carcosa. This one was a little difficult to choose investigators for, but since there is an emphasis on dealing with horror, especially direct horror, I picked Skids and Silas. There's also not a whole lot of need to evade, and willpower tests are pretty important. Finally, you'll need to test your base intellect a few times, and Skids and Silas both like to get clues in other ways. But both of these investigators could do just fine with the right decks. Here's the Forgotten Age, which is the first campaign that really changed the formula as to what to expect from the encounter deck. Agility was suddenly very important. But the truth is, willpower is also extremely important, so that's why I picked Joe Diamond. Calvin Wright doesn't really have a problem passing tests, especially once he's picked up some trauma, but the problem with TFA is that there's too much trauma. There's even a scenario that you might need to replay, and Calvin can possibly get a trauma each time he plays it. All of that becomes just too much in one particular scenario where the trauma is no longer beneficial. I'd skip him in TFA. Okay, the Circle Undone, which also has a reputation of being difficult, especially with the million willpower tests. It's also known for splitting investigators up a few times, so Carson Sinclair is going to have a blank investigator card and will struggle to do things on his own with his low stats. Stella Clark can still do well, but she'll be a little annoyed by the Haunted mechanic, which will punish her for failing investigation skill tests. TCU is really the one speed bump for Stella out of all the campaigns. The Dream Eaters has two mini campaigns, so I'm picking just one investigator for each of them, Patrice and Safina. Campaign A is known for having a lot of hidden cards, and this can just lock Patrice out of her ability since you can't discard hidden cards with her ability. The finale can be especially rough. For Campaign B, there's very little distinguishing these scenarios. You can probably play anyone and do fine, but I picked Safina because 2 out of the 4 scenarios include dissonant voices, which keeps her from playing any events. And there's one location in one scenario that prevents you from playing events too. You'll probably be fine though, since having high willpower and high agility works very well. I couldn't think of anyone else, so let me know if you have a better idea. Now, the next one was easy. The Innsmouth Conspiracy has the awful on-gauge effects from Deep 1 enemies. Who hates that? Kaimani Jones, who basically can't use their ability without repercussions. I always pack extra soak in Innsmouth, but with Kaimani, you'll need to pack extra soak. Dexter Drake is here too, but he really stands in for all mystics. I hardly ever play a mystic without arcane research or down the rabbit hole, which allow you to reduce the XP cost when you upgrade between scenarios. But Innsmouth doesn't let you spend XP at all between several scenarios, so these XP reduction cards aren't great, and you'll have to pay full price to upgrade your spells. That said, there is a lot of XP in Innsmouth, so you might be fine. Edge of the Earth is well known for not punishing or favoring any particular stats or playstyles, that is, except for one. Doom. So I've chosen Amina and Marie because, some spoilers here, but in the finale, their abilities are just blank. In most campaigns, you can afford to just fail any given scenario if it's designed against a particular archetype, but the finale? That's the one time that you should be able to do the thing that your deck wants to do, no matter what that is. Yikes. Alright, last campaign. The Scarlet Keys is also pretty fair across different investigators, although you'll have to think about how to deal with the concealed mechanic, which asks you have at least one high number and maybe not put all of your eggs into the one basket of cards with limited uses. So I'm picking Daniela and Preston here. While Daniela does have a 5 in her stat line, her ability is a little worse than usual because she can't easily get attacked by enemies in the shadows. Or more specifically, she can't attack back while they're in the shadows. There are some tough elite enemies in the campaign though, so maybe she's not the worst. This spot could also go to Trish because, again, concealed mini cards are not enemies at her location. Anyways, a more conventional tough pick would be Preston. The low stats are usually compensated for by playing events or using something like Well Connected. Exposing concealed mini cards can require that you make a lot of tests per round, and this is a lot harder when you spend a lot of cards or resources just to end up exposing a decoy. Well, that's it for real this time. Thank you for watching. I just might end up doing the opposite, the best investigators per campaign, in a future video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed and checked out my other cool videos I have up here on my channel, go ahead and do that. Watch some videos about archetypes, rules, some gameplay, and I'll see you in the next one.